Okay. Welcome to the Family Blueprint, where we explore patterns, dynamics, and strategies that shape families' relationships. I'm your host, Tyler Atkins. In tonight's episode, we're focusing on strategic family therapy, but rather than diving into the details right away, we're going to unpack this with the help of our expert guests. I'm joined tonight by three guests who will bring a unique perspective to this conversation. So let me introduce them. Our first guest is Ms. Leslie Wallace.
Hello.
Our second guest is Ms. Yasmin Gamble.
Hello.
And our third guest is Mr. Philip Edwards.
Hello.
All right, so let's get into it. So let's start with the foundation. Ms. Leslie, can you give us a brief overview of strategic family therapy and what it focuses on?
Okay, so strategic family therapy is a therapeutic approach that focuses on changing patterns of communication and interaction within a family. In this approach, problems are viewed as the result of ineffective and or repetitive interaction patterns rather than issues within a single individual. Families may become stuck in cycles of behavior such as constant conflict, avoidance, or miscommunication that reinforces the problem over time. Therapists, once they get involved, they take an active or directive role, which my bad. Therapists take an active or directive role, often designing specific strategies or tasks to disrupt these unhelpful patterns.
When they take these roles in the sessions, what roles do they normally take?
They'll assigning tasks or homework. This helps families practice new behaviors outside of therapy sessions by completing specific tasks, such as scheduling positive interactions or changing how they respond during conflict. Family members actively break old patterns and build healthier ones, which promotes accountability and reinforces change in real life settings. Reframing problems to shift perspectives. Reframing Reframing allows family members to view a problem from a different, often more positive or neutral perspective. For example, a defiant child may be reframed as seeking independence. This reduces blame and defensiveness, increases empathy among family members, and opens the door for more constructive communication and problem solving, and also interrupting negative communication cycles. Families often get stuck in repetitive, unhealthy interaction patterns. For example, criticism, defensiveness, escalation. Interrupting these cycles in the moment helps prevent conflicts from escalating and create space for new, healthier ways of communicating. Over time, it leads to more respectful, effective interactions and stronger relationships. Overall, these techniques are beneficial because they focus on immediate, practical changes in how family members interact, helping to quickly shift dysfunctional patterns into more positive and productive ones.
Thank you so much. That was a great breakdown. Now that we have a clear picture of what it is, let's dive deeper into know where it comes from. So, Ms. Yasmin, what is the theoretical foundation behind strategic family therapy?
Okay, so strategic family therapy is a therapeutic approach that focuses on solving specific problems within a family system by targeting patterns of interaction rather than exploring deep emotional histories. Its theoretical foundation is rooted in systems theory, cybernetics, and communication theory. First, systems theory is central to strategic family therapy. This perspective views the family as an interconnected system where each member's behavior affects and is affected by others. Problems are not seen as belonging to one individual, but as arising from dysfunctional interaction patterns within the family. For example, a child's behavioral issue might be understood as part of a cycle involving parental responses and family dynamics. Second, strategic family therapy draws heavily from cybernetics, particularly the concept of feedback loops. Families tend to maintain stability or homeostasis even if the patterns are unhealthy. Negative behaviors can become reinforced through repeated cycles. Therapists aim to disrupt these cycles by introducing strategic interventions that change how family members respond to one another. Another key foundation is communication theory, especially the idea that all behavior is a form of communication. Miscommunication or contradictory messages, such as saying one thing but expressing another through tone or actions, can create confusion and conflict. Strategic therapists pay close attention to these patterns and work to restructure communication in more functional ways. Strategic family therapy is also influenced by the work of therapists like Jay Haley and the Mental Research Institute Group. They emphasize practical, problem focused interventions rather than long term exploration. Therapists develop specific strategies tailored to the family's situation. These may include directives, paradoxical interventions, or reframing problems to shift perspectives. A defining feature of this approach is that the therapist takes an active directive role. Instead of simply facilitating discussion, the therapist designs interventions aimed at producing change quickly and effectively. The focus is on what is happening now rather than why it started in the past. In summary, the theoretical foundation of strategic family therapy combines systems thinking, feedback mechanisms, and communication patterns to understand and change family behavior. By targeting interaction cycles and using strategic interventions, this approach aims to create meaningful change in a relatively short period of time.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, so now that we know what it is and the theory behind it, let's talk about the approach, why this approach matters in practice. So, Mr. Phillip, what's the rationale for using strategic family therapy in practice?
Yes. The reason to use strategic family therapy is because most family problems aren't just about one individual. They're about how everyone talks to and interacts with each other. People in a lot of families might get locked in cycles without even knowing it. For instance, one person might do something that makes another person angry, and the same fight happens over and over again. Even when everyone wants things to get better, these behaviors might unintentionally keep problems going. Strategic family therapy works to change those tendencies immediately. It doesn't just talk about settlements or things that have happened in the past. It also looks at how family members are talking to, responding to, and affecting each other right now. The concept is that you can interrupt the cycle that keeps the problem going by changing how individuals interact, even in modest ways. For example, if a parent changes how they react to their child's conduct, the consequence can be very different over time. This method is also very practical and focused on goals. The therapist is actively involved in helping the family find new ways to talk to and connect with each other that are more helpful and productive. So, in general, the reason is simple and strong. You can change the problem itself by changing how family members talk to and interact with each other.
Well, thank you so much. That makes so much sense. That makes a lot of sense, especially for families who are in need of immediate change regarding their communication skills. So one thing that stands out to me is how the strategic family therapy doesn't just focus on talking about problems, but it um, is actively working on fixing unhealthy patterns. Instead of placing the blame on one person, it looks at the entire family system. So before we wrap up, I would like to hear from each one of you. What's a key takeaway that you would want the listeners to remember regarding the strategic family therapy?
I think the most important key takeaway is like exactly what you said, that strategic family therapy is focuses on change through action rather than insight. So instead of just talking about it, they're actually using real life interventions to help families work through their issues. And unlike some therapies that emphasize understanding emotions or past experiences, strategic family therapy prioritizes what works right now. The therapist designs specific tasks or interventions for the family to carry out between sessions, and these actions are meant to directly disrupt unhealthy patterns and create new, more functional ones.
Thank you, Yasmin. Does anyone else have a takeaway?
To piggyback off what Miss Yasmin said, I would also like to add that with strategic family therapy that they want to make small changes in behavior that can lead to better communication and fewer problems. So it's not like, you just have to do this whole 180 overnight. You start with the little things and then you start to see changes later on.
Thank you, Leslie. And Mr. Phillip, do you have a takeaway?
All the responses were good. Thanks.
Okay, I want to thank you guys for sharing your insight on the strategic family therapy. And I want to thank the listeners for listening to the Family Blueprint. Until next time, you guys. Thank you.